This is Meet the Owner, where business stories come to life with your host, Dryden Hall. Let's go, people.
Welcome to Boom 7, Meet the Owner. This week we've got Ronnie, who I call AKA Diamond Geezer. So just tell you a little bit about Ronnie. So he's a personal trainer at David Lloyd in Milton Keynes. And we've done some stuff together. And he told me he used to be a diamond merchant seller. So I've said, you need to come onto the show because that's sales. That's hardcore sales. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. So we did some stuff at David Lloyd. We'll get onto the PT stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But I call you Diamond Geezer.
That's it.
So you used to buy and sell diamonds, right?
Yeah, so I got into the diamond business when I was about 17.
That's young.
Yeah, so I got into it through my brother.
Okay.
He had a shop in St Albans. Just one day rang me up and said, you looking for a job? I said, yeah. So I went to work for a diamond company in Hatton Garden. Stayed there about a year. Then I went to work for a silver company, a gold company, then back to diamonds, and that's sort of where I stayed. I was in the trade for around about 20 years.
20 years. So how did your brother get is it just a retail job? Is it you go and work in the shop?
Yeah. So my brother was in the city. He was working for one of the big banks there.
Okay.
A school friend of his family was in the jewellery business. They used to make wedding bands. They still do, actually.
Yeah.
And they were always good friends, and he just said to him, like, why don't we open a shop? So they opened a shop, and you know, I used to go in there at the weekends, help out, stuff like that. And eventually went and worked in the diamond business. So
just start from the beginning in a shop. So you know when you go into a shop, say up the shopping centre in Milton Keynes, and you go into the jewellery shop, they're all priced up there, and there's a time of year everything's on sale.
Yeah.
And you're like, hang on a minute, that's like 50% cheap. How is that so much cheaper? Was there a rule of like if something's X amount of pounds?
Yeah, there was. I mean, obviously being in the trade, it was a lot cheaper. Just like anything really in retail, I suppose. You know, so I mean, I dealt with a lot more bespoke pieces. So you know. For instance, if I had a client, he would come to me and say, you know, I'm looking for an engagement ring for my missus or whatever. And then I'd get the diamond, I'd get it handmade, etc. So he'd be picking it out the whole way. And it was far cheaper than
but there's margins even in the shops, right?
Yeah.
So were you told even back then, right, we need to achieve a certain price? So does discounts come into it? Is that the price? So we're talking 25 years.
No, you could always change the price.
Okay.
You know, it depends how bad they. I mean, you bear in mind that people are sitting on diamonds, and some of the time that's all their profit is in that stone. So they might have bought it 10 years ago. Now it's gone up in value, so they can sell it a bit cheaper. But yeah, generally it was whatever we wanted to sell it at, we could move around on the price.
So when you see a window full of jewellery, does the owner generally own all of it?
No, very rarely.
So how does that work?
So the way it works with jewellery is because it's a lot of money, you know, so you will have shops that can buy their own stock. I mean, I used to have clients that own all their own stock that they built up over the years, but mostly it works on approval. So you'll ring a diamond merchant, you'll say, I want you to stock out my window. When you sell an item, you're supposed to pay for it. Supposed to. So
what does that mean then? So diamond A gets sold.
Yeah. So
you should pay the diamond off, right?
You should pay the diamond. Yeah, but a lot of the time you would settle up on a monthly basis. You would give 30, 60, 90 days credit, sometimes 120 days, depending on the client. There's a lot of diamond dealers out there. Yeah. I mean, diamonds was the only one. I mean, I started as a salesman. I was covering the south coast from Brighton all the way down to Torquay.
So were you selling diamonds to jeweller shops?
Yeah, so I was literally on the road all day.
So how does that work? So you're I'll say bowling. It's because you're Diamond Geezer. I'm like, you're bowling around.
Yeah.
You're in your car.
Yeah.
Is it a suitcase?
Yeah, we had a bag.
Proper bag?
Yeah, so we had a bag.
And you're rocking up with loads of diamonds.
Yeah, sometimes.
Knocking on the door, going, all right, I'm Ronnie.
Yeah.
How much is in a bag?
It's a lot. I mean, sometimes we're talking. I wouldn't. When I was going out, when I was working for a diamond company based in, they were Spanish diamond company. They had an office here. We were going out with minimum £500,000 worth of stock trade, and so you could probably say that's at least 2-3 mil, retail. Yeah. Watches, diamonds, the whole works.
I'm getting scared just thinking about that first bit. Yeah. So when I started at this restaurant, I won't mention who they are. Chris will know who they are. My first day, they were right. We've got to go bank. All right, cool. So they literally went to the safe and they pulled out all this money, and I'm like, wait, okay, it's going in a carrier bag, and we walked to NatWest.
Yeah. I'm
like, if anyone knew what you were doing, and it's before they got big, and they were doing thousands of customers per week.
Yeah.
If anyone knew, that carry bag has so much money in it. Oh, yeah. That was my first day. Yeah. I was like, that was scary. So, at what level do you're a sales guy, and when do they trust you to have loads of diamonds in your car?
Obviously the diamond business is quite a close-knit community. It was never really, it did happen rare, like they'd go out and outsource a salesman, but you kind of had a name, people knew you, and they trusted you.
So you have to build trust, right?
Yeah, massively. But to the point where you'd walk down, be walking down Hatton Garden and someone come up to you and say, hey, Ronnie, can you sell this diamond? And they'd just hand it to you, and it's, £200,000 diamond. They're like, can you sell that? And they'd just give it to you right there in the street. And it's just based on trust, But yeah, going out on the road was, it was hard. I mean, in America, for instance, they have armed guards.
I can say they probably have security, don't they?
We had nothing, and the amount of time, the amount of reps that were done over, they'd follow them home, steal their stock.
That's America.
No, in the UK.
Oh, UK.
Yeah,
right?
I got followed once from Brighton.
So what I want to know, so you've built trust, and this is a business podcast, right? And for me, there's no better business in that sense. So you've got all this nice stuff, the glam stuff, which we all say is glam, and you knock on a shop door.
Yeah.
Tell me about what's your sales pitch?
So if they were
pitch even,
if they were a good potential client, they'd tell you they're not interested. A lot of the time I'd have to go back to someone countless times. So it's not too dissimilar from normal sales in that sense. There was a lot of diamond dealers out there, and a lot of companies that would deal straight with Antwerp. In a sense, it's a whole big sort of complex way that the diamond industry works. You have people like De Beers at the top. They then have around 250, it used to be 250, I don't know about now, what they call site holders, which are people that they will sell to directly. So every week in Hatton Garden, you'll see a helicopter fly in with all the rough diamonds. They would literally hand a box to you, not me, I wasn't a site holder, but they would hand the box to them with X amount of uncut diamonds, and they would have to buy it. There was no option to return it. If they did, they would get removed from the list. That way, De Beers controlled what was coming into the market.
So it's a special list.
Well, yeah. So sometimes it might be 1 carats. Sometimes they'd hold back on giving half carats just to keep demand up. So you have these 250 people, companies that would take the stock. They would then supply it down the chain,
which is fine. But is there that cold sale of going into a shop on the south coast? Yeah. And what's your pattern? Like, what do you? Well, you're good with people. We spoke about this.
We just used to go in and say, look, I'm working for a diamond company. It would usually always come down to price.
Okay.
Usually the bad shops would be like, yeah, cool, give me all you got, because you knew you were going to struggle to get the money out of them eventually, or you give them 90.
So the first sign is if they're like, then they're usually the worst customer.
Well, look, if they're established, they're going to have their supply chain.
Yeah.
Obviously, diamonds are different in that if you're looking for something a bit more specialist, it's not necessarily that everyone's going to have it. Okay. Let's say you want a 2.5 carat princess cut fancy intense yellow. There's only so many places you can go to get that, right? So sometimes they will outsource. But, I remember I used to go into shops and they'd say, like, we're not dealing with diamond dealers. We've got so many that come. We've got so many options that we don't want to deal with them anymore, and it was kind of like you had to sort of use a bit of intuition to get in there. I remember dealing with a client, I really wanted to deal with him every time I went to his shop, he told me to get out. It was like that, and I went for months.
Sometimes the ruder they are, the better it is when you get it, right?
And I had to be a little bit cheeky. Like, I know that he liked. He was a member of a yacht club.
Okay.
And I literally went and joined the yacht club. I got a little pin badge. I walked in there one day.
Oh, look who it is!
As he was telling me to get out, he saw it. We had a chat, and he became a really good guy.
Badge?
Yeah, I had the little badge on me.
How did you find out he liked yachts?
One of the girls in the shop told me, because I was like, "Look, how do I get it? How do I get it?" And she goes, "He's real, like, loves going out on the water and stuff. He's a member of this club."
Yeah. Did you remember how much the membership was?
I can't remember. It was a long time. It's quite a lot.
And
of money.
Would you have paid for that, or would that be work?
No, I would have paid.
You'd pay.
Yeah,
that,
I would have paid.
Because you wanted him.
Yeah, I wanted him as a client.
And was he a good client?
Yeah, massive. He used to do like $100,000 a month with us.
Wow. And did you ever tell him?
No, I did actually. I did tell him. He actually quite liked it.
I bet he loved it, right?
Yeah, like, we just, look, I was never looking to mess people around. I genuinely had a good product that I was selling, especially with the diamonds, a good price as well. I was working with good companies, and it could definitely have benefited them. But there were so many reps coming in from all over the world that it was quite cutthroat. It was hard work to try and get the clients.
So how are you like an employee at that point? Do you work? You get a salary? Do you?
Yeah. So we were.
Do you remember back in the day what a salary looked like and what commission?
Yeah. So I was on around.
And how old were you?
So when I was about 21, I think I was on about $5,000 a month.
Okay.
So it was only decent, about $5,000. Yeah. So the sales company I was working for when I was on the road, obviously while you're doing that, you're learning about diamonds. I mean, geez, I used to sit there. You'd get a parcel. Like, it was called a briefka, so it's a white diamond paper.
Okay.
And inside you'd have like 100 carat of 1 millimeter diamonds. It's a lot, right?
I've got some diamonds in my ring actually.
So is that
what they are?
Yeah. So that's
loads of them.
Thousands.
Is there thousands?
And you'd have to sit there on a desk. The table was about up to your neck.
A bit like the studio.
You'd have to literally look at every single one. So you'd have to look at every one, and you'd put it into 3 groups, like A, B, C, because obviously you've got the different clarities of diamonds. And when you were buying from site holders or whatever, they never gave you a D colour or an E colour. They would always give you a parcel.
Yeah.
Well, not even. So you'd have to go through the colour, pull out the correct colours, because there's such a big price between I don't know, let's say a DVS1 and a HI, PK1. So there's such a massive price, but they'd all be in the same parcel. So it was really important that you knew what you were doing. So they'd literally give us these parcels, and we'd have to assort every one, and you'd have them flicking out all over the place, pinging out. Like, you'd weigh the parcel, it'd be like 100 carat, let's say, and then when you weighed it at the end, it'd be like 90. And you'd be like,
somewhere.
Yeah, and so that's how it used to be. And we used to do that with big stones as well. I remember once I was sorting a parcel of 1 carat diamonds, and I was looking through, one pinged, and we always used to say in the diamond business, it's like they got legs.
Yeah.
Because it pinged, and it was about £3,000 diamond.
Are you bricking it, going, where is it? Where is this diamond?
I spent the rest of the day, probably about 4 hours trying to find it. And eventually, it was a Friday as well, so I was like, because my boss at the time, he used to be like, whenever a diamond goes missing like that, like it would ping out, everybody stop what they're doing, you'd turn the lights off in the office, you'd get a torch out because you'd roll it along the floor, because if it hit the diamond it would sparkle, so you would see where the diamond was. So there was a whole sort of protocol for when the diamond, and honestly I found them in plug sockets. That particular one was wedged in the diamond light.
Serious?
So yeah, like literally behind the bulbs, and I'm like, how?
Sweating?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
So there's a trust thing at the beginning, and then there's, hang on, we've lost the diamond.
Yeah.
Is there paranoia straight away? You're like, do they think I've nicked that?
Yeah, well, no.
Do they search you on the way out of these types of places?
Some of them might do, but the companies I worked for, I'd know, we had a good relationship, especially before I went out on my own. I was working for a guy, me and him were really we'd been through a whole journey together. Yeah. So if I was say to him one of the diamonds has fallen,
you believe it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
so were you any good at the start? So you're on the road. What sort of card you get when you're selling diamonds?
No, I can't remember what I had back then.
Can't remember.
I think I had
flash or not flash. Medium.
You try. I mean, in the beginning, you go out there in a suit and you look the part. But the problem is that people, especially there was a whole big thing. I mean, you could probably Google it. Like, there was a gang of people who were targeting diamond reps.
No way.
Yeah, but you stand out like a sore thumb. You're wearing a suit.
Nice car.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually, you sort of learnt to be a little bit more subtle. Maybe you'd have like a sports bag, and you'd be wearing a jumper and trousers.
What's the protocol if someone's like, we know who you are, and we want that bag? Well, you supposed
just
to
give it to them. That was
just
always the insurance was always. I mean, we had specific rules that we had to follow with the insurance. We couldn't. So if we were out staying at a hotel, the bag wasn't allowed to leave us. It had to be with us at all times.
So you would have slept with it.
Yeah. So essentially, yeah. Like if you're in the hotel,
they're pinging out everywhere.
Yeah. The only time it was allowed to be unattended was, I believe, at a petrol station. But you had to sort of put it in the boot. And I think sometimes they wanted it chained in the boot as well.
To cover the company, the insurance.
Yeah, the insurance, yeah. So, so it was pretty crazy the way the stipulations. I mean, to be honest, none of us did it. We always just left it in the, we'd leave it in the hotel and then go out. Yeah, who wants to go out to a restaurant with £100,000 worth of diamonds, So
we're gonna get in some bits. I was gonna say dirt, but dirt.
Yeah.
When you was at school, because I always go back to where people were like at school. What were you like at school, Ronnie?
Terrible.
Just really terrible. Bad, yeah. What does that mean, terrible? You got brothers and sisters?
I've got a brother. Yeah.
What's he like?
He's good.
Diamond guy as well.
He's still in the trade business. Yeah.
We'll get back to him.
Yeah.
So you were terrible. So what were we talking about?
I just really wasn't interested in that whole thing. Like the whole sort of schooling thing. I never really got on with it. My mind just wandered. I don't know. I just wanted to get out there and get on with it.
Even at a super young age.
Yeah, kind of. I never took to the whole. Yeah, I just couldn't absorb it. And I guess nowadays, like there's a cause for all of that sort of stuff. So maybe I had something like that. I don't know.
Do you think if you got anything like ADHD, dyslexia?
Yeah.
Have you had any of that? You got that?
I'd say borderline ADHD.
Okay.
Definitely.
You said over twinkle in your eye.
Yeah, no. I guess you can do nowadays, but we come from an old school place where, like, if I would have said that to my dad, he'd have slapped me around the head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
So you bored?
Yeah. I wanted to get out of school.
Moving around.
Yeah.
What did your parents do? I just want to know what background parents. What was their sort of vibe?
My mum worked in she was a secretary for a company in London.
Okay.
And my dad was always sort of a trader. He used to, kind of like us. He was never in the jewellery business, but he kind of traded in commodities and stuff like that.
What did he trade?
Everything.
It's a bit of a Del boy.
Yeah.
Do you think that you've got something from your dad?
Yeah,
in that sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. We were always sort of going to go into sales.
Was you always going to do it?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't love the industry. I suppose if you want to make money, and back then I was more money driven, so I wanted to make money. So yeah, I was in sales, and especially in diamonds. I mean, obviously I can grade diamonds as well as a gemologist, but it was the sales is where you made the big.
So you're at school. Do you know your results? I lied about my results. Yeah, so when someone asked, they went, "Oh, what'd you get?" I went, "Oh, you got 5 of these, 6 of these, 5 of these," and I just lied, and I got my record of achievement. I don't know if you had it down where you were.
Yeah.
And it said, there were certificates, there was your results, there was like what you want to be when you're older.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a piece on it, but I clearly couldn't spell.
Yeah.
Like even then.
Yeah.
And I did poorly, but what I was good at, like you probably, is I was good with people.
Talking,
we had 2 schools, Seckler, Cotslow, and I was in both really. And but back then, if you were in Seckler, you only hung out with Seckler people, and if you were in Cotslow, you didn't go across.
Right.
And I was the only player to play in the school team that wasn't in Cotslow.
Right.
So I had this big thing, and like you, just got a bit bored.
Yeah.
My attention weren't grabbed, and that was it. I wasn't bad, but they didn't get me. But with you, do you remember your results? No. The real results?
No.
Did you do any exams?
Only my fake results.
Fake ones.
I think I got a really crazy, like in my GCSEs. I think I got like I don't even think the score existed. Like it was so low. I think it was like a L or an M
L
or some
loser.
Yeah, like it was something really ridiculous. I remember saying like, what even? I've never heard of that before.
Well, they gave you it.
Yeah, it was on one of my papers. I think because I didn't even sit the exam. I don't know. It was. You know what? It was looking back. Do I wish I did better? Probably, you know. But just at the time, I just like my mind wasn't in it. Like you know, as a kid growing up and maturing at different speeds and rates, I just at the time I couldn't concentrate. I just took no engagement from it.
Do you remember your first job, Ronnie? Very first job where you made money?
No.
Do you remember any jobs before the diamonds?
Yeah.
Because 17, you must have
worked in an IT company for a bit, in sales.
In a suit?
Yeah, in a suit, yeah. So I did sales in an IT company. Again, I was pretty good at it. Like,
any training? Sales training?
No.
So I imagine you've just got...
The school of life.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I think it takes a certain sort of person to be a salesman. I don't think, you know, you have to be willing to kiss ass, really. Kiss ass?
Yeah. Is that tip of the day?
Typical, yeah.
Kiss ass. So what, go to the ego, hey, how are you? I think you're great.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Is that one of your tactics?
Well, I mean, I'm generally like that. Like, I'll always try and find the good in people, you know, and you build on that. You try and find a connection with someone, you know, like even after the diamonds, before I became a PT, I was selling solar. And, you know, you'd straight away go into a house and you're looking for, how can I connect with this person? Yeah. So how can I connect with this person? Oh, they've got a dog. I love dogs. Oh, they've got a guitar. I don't know anything about guitars, but you show interest.
Oh, look at those 6 strings.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that because I'm doing lessons. So
there you go.
Before that, right? There you go. We're building rapport now.
That's it.
I love it.
That's it.
So you did the solar panels before the diamond selling?
No, that was after.
After?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So after the diamond business, I'm probably naivety. I mean, I was doing really well at a young age. You know, I had everything you'd ever want. You know, I had my own businesses. I had my own lab, so grading diamonds. And yeah, it just took you know, again, like I said, through naive behaviour, it just took a bad turn, and I ended up losing a lot.
You're 17, you're doing well. You're going to shops, you're doing well. What's the next step in the world of diamonds? What's the level?
Well, so it was kind of, because the companies, especially in the UK, were quite small. There was like you know, an owner, and you never really had. I mean, apart from the big companies who would have had a lot of different staff, there wasn't that many staff, you know. So for me, I ended up at a diamond company, working with one of the guys that I'd worked with previously. He'd opened his own company. I stayed there for a bit. He also had a lab, so that's where I learned to become a gemologist, to grade diamonds. And then eventually I went and opened, you know, at the time I sort of had my own private businesses that I was doing. So if someone wanted a diamond ring, I'd sell it to them. And I just realised eventually that, hey, I was making good money from this. I might as well do it on my own.
How much money?
Oh, yeah, loads. I mean, there was good times. I had
how much?
Clients that, a lot, yeah, good. I had a good lifestyle, put it that way.
Okay, I mean, we don't know what's good. You're good and good might be different.
Yeah, I mean, certain points was bringing in something like 30-40 grand a month.
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah. So
how quickly did you start buying the car, the house, the luxury?
Not too. I mean, I was always sort of, you know, like my nice things, but it wasn't probably till I opened my own company that, you know, I started to get a bit more lavish. So, you know, bigger house, the nice cars, stuff like that. Obviously, when the kids were born.
Oh, you got kids?
Yeah, 2 kids.
I've never spoken to you. How many kids now?
2. So I've got a daughter who's 14, a son who's 13.
Okay.
So that they were super young at the time.
So everything's going well.
It's all going good. Yeah.
Are you still? So you've gone from selling to stores for a big company to working with a friend to then doing your own thing with a lab.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So it was all good. I mean, I had some great clients, and then I think it kind of all started going wrong with a client of mine had a robbery.
Okay.
In Berkhamsted, he had a shop and he had quite a lot of stock, and the insurance didn't pay out enough to cover the stock.
Okay.
That was taken. That kind of started the ball rolling. I mean, I managed to weather that. But
when you say weather it, so is it your stock or he doesn't want to buy from you anymore?
No,
so he hasn't got any money.
I had my own stock, but a lot of the time I would outsource the stock. So if somebody wanted X,
Yeah.
I would get it from a supplier.
Okay.
Whether that was in Antwerp or in Tel Aviv or in the UK,
Yeah.
wherever I could find the stone or the watch or whatever they were looking for.
Okay.
Now, obviously, you get to a point where your clients have a lot of your goods, and they're not your goods; they belong to other people. So, when all it takes is one client to go under or to give you a problem, and that's it.
You've got, let's get this right. So you've got, would you call it a client has got some stock that's in this shop?
Yeah.
And it gets robbed.
Yeah.
In essence, that guy who owns that is not happy.
No.
And there's no insurance.
No. Well, I mean, there might be insurance, but yeah, exactly. And especially, it's a lot. It was always when we first got into the jewellery trade, it was always, it's not if you get in trouble with that, it's when you get in trouble with that, and if you're going to be able to deal with that. I mean, throughout my whole time in Hatton Garden, I used to hear stories about it happening to people, and it's hard. Yeah, I mean, overnight you lose everything.
So what happened? You get a phone call saying X has been robbed.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's actually quite a funny story. I remember talking to him on the phone, and he kept asking for more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And, I said to him, mate, you're either going to have the best sale of your life or you're going to have a story to tell. I said, either way, it's going to be an interesting evening. I remember calling him up that night to see, and didn't answer his phone. So the day he got robbed? Yeah, didn't answer his phone. That was the day the guy was supposed to come and collect all the stock, because the guy who robbed him was coming into the shop and saying, I want this, I want that, I want this. All right, I'm going to come in on Friday, I'm going to pay for it all.
So
he's going in on Friday. Yeah, he's waited for him to be the last client. They've all gone in, taken all the stock. Bless him, he got thrown in the back of a van. They thought he was threatened to get shot. It was horrible. Yeah, he went through it, the guy. So
proper real. Well,
yeah, definitely. I mean, they ended up they went to prison for quite a while. Yeah, you probably Google it. But yeah, it's yeah. So he so I was trying to phone him up. No answer. No, it's 10 o'clock at night. No answer. And I'm like, oh God.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking something's not right.
Because generally, when someone rings, you're answering generally all the time.
Yeah,
okay.
And I knew straight away something was wrong. The next day, I got a call from the person who owned the shop, and he said to me, "This is what happened. This has been a robbery." He said, "But we didn't have any of your stock, did we?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, you did. You had a lot of my stock." And yeah, so that kind of, I think at the time, he had about the invoice was maybe for like 60 grand. The insurance paid out like 18 or 17. Obviously, I had to then pay.
So it's not major money,
no.
But it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money to find, right?
So now what happens? You're like...
So, yeah, it was, I mean, at the time it was all right. I weathered it was fine. And then I got into issues with another client over a lot more money, which I won't go into too much detail of. But
Can we have a little bit of detail for the podcast?
I mean, it was again probably due to my naivety at the time. I wanted more, and I was dealing with the wrong people, the wrong suppliers, and it all just went really bad, and overnight lost everything.
Can you give us a little bit of an insight of what happened?
Well, I mean, again, I can't say too much.
No names?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was just essentially, a client had a lot of stock and they didn't pay. I mean, that's basically
Didn't pay?
Yeah, they disappeared. So for me, that was, then all of a sudden I owe a lot of money and I've got to liquidate everything.
Is this all at the same time? Is this within the same...
Well, it's over about 50... This is when I was sort of early 2010. So
within the year or within the months, weeks?
That was probably the same. The snowball was over about 2 years. Yeah, so it just got to the point where it was unmanageable anymore.
So you've covered the first one.
Yeah,
sorted. You obviously saved some money.
You save money, and we always used to have stock. I'd always have a nice watch on. You could always cash that out whenever you wanted to. So it was. You had backup, but there's only so much you can withstand, right?
Were you in a place where you're like, oh, it won't happen to me? Did you ever have that feeling?
You knew. I mean, the trade was hard. There's a lot of money in it, and because of I remember once we tried when I was working for a company, we tried to get credit checks done on the shops, you know, say, right, we're only going to give what the credit allows us. And it was kind of like $5,000. You're like, it's not even one diamond. So it's just not going to work. So, you know, most of the time shops would have 50 grand plus worth of stock of yours sitting in their window or whatever, you know. And
so what? I feel scared asking questions like. So you've now got a client that's not happy. You've got stuff gone missing. It's not getting covered. What does that even look like? Like, what's the problem?
It's not great, especially in that trade. So it turns nasty, you know. Threats, stuff like that. You know, there's a lot. You know, whenever there's money involved, there's always going to be the naughty people around, right? So there was a lot of that sort of stuff going on. So, you know, for me, I'd been in this bubble all my life to all of a sudden being threatened. You know, if I didn't pay X amount of money, then that would happen. You know, my kids got threatened, stuff like that. So
you're in debt. Not like from the bank.
No, you're in debt. To your suppliers.
And time-wise, is there time limits on this sort of stuff? So money missing, diamonds missing. You've got X amount of time to.
I mean, it's sort of, you know, this is how much you owe. You need to pay that money. And you're like, well, I haven't got that money, you know. Well, that's not good enough. It's not like, you know, you've got to find the money, you know.
So at this time, you've got a nice house.
A nice house, cars.
There's money in these things. You mentioned liquidation. So you had to liquidate the business.
Liquidate. The business got liquidated eventually, but I had to liquidate all my personal items, you know.
To release cash. Did you get cash out?
To get cash out to pay. Of course.
So what else is going on? So that's two scenarios.
So, I mean, they were the main two, and at the time, you know, me and my partner split up. You know, the kid's mum.
The kid's mum,
So we split up at the time, and it was hard, like hard, you know. And what followed from that was just like serious depression. I mean, for me.
Let's go to that, because you know it's a bit of a buzzword last few years, or more in the media. Let's be honest. So you obviously, you're getting threats. Did you say your children got threats?
There was threats to go to their school and stuff like that. So I mean, whether or not it would have happened, I don't know. But when someone says that to you, you take note of it, right? So, you know, that sort of stuff happened, and it was hard. Like, I'd been brought up in a bubble, you know. I only knew North London. That was all I knew. And all of a sudden, this sort of stuff is happening, and it was. I mean, mental health. I mean, you know, again, I'm going back, like, when I was younger, if I talked about mental health to my dad, he'd slap me around the head, you know. So for me, it was tough, and I'd lost everything and everyone essentially. I wasn't talking to my family. Obviously, I was kind of in hiding, if you like. And you know, like I said to you earlier.
Where do you, don't tell me where you went, because, you know, but where do you go? Like, you're in that area, all of a sudden you've disappeared, right?
I mean, I used to sit in I used to have obviously before the house went, I used to have a house, and it looked like Fort Knox, you know, like cameras everywhere, and I used to sit there at night with the cameras watching if anyone was pulling up to the house, you know. That's literally what I would do all night, until the house went, and then I had nothing. I was homeless, you know. I literally walked out the house, and that was it. I'd clothes on my back. Everything was gone, you know. And I guess it's at that point when you realise what life's about, you know. And you know, like I said to you before, it was, you know, you're standing on that bridge and you're like, well, I've got two options.
So you literally stood on the bridge?
Yeah.
This was a bridge?
Oh, definitely. I had nothing. For me, there was no way out. You know, there was no way out, and I was overweight, you know, I smoked, I drank, I was just in a bad place, you know, and it was kind of like, I've got two options. I'm either going to go over this bridge, or I'm going to walk down from the bridge, and I'm going to sort myself out. And it was a long journey, you know, and it was only because I decided that, you know, I joined the gym, like we all do, for the 50th time at the time. And one of the PTs came over to me, and we were chatting, and he saw I was 25 stone.
So you went 25 stone?
25 stone. when I was in the jewellery business. 25 stone.
So were you in good shape during when things were good? So when you
no,
so you
I was
never
always big.
Really?
Even ever since I was a kid,
Okay.
I was big. So and it that had massive influence on my confidence, stuff like that. I mean, obviously the jewellery trade I kind of felt a bit invincible, but I was always never happy with my weight. I always had confidence issues ever since I was younger. So
it was all a show, was it?
Oh yeah, massively.
Just cover it up.
Massively, yeah. And even after the jewellery business, I mean, if you look at me now, I've got a lot of tattoos, I've got stuff like that. I never had them in the jewellery. I got them all after because it was kind of like a suit of armour, protect me from all the bad things, Do
you think tattoos are like that anyway?
Well, I mean,
I
grew up in that era where, like, if you had a tattoo, you were kind of a...
He's odd.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like, you know what, if I look scary, then maybe people won't approach me. Maybe they'll leave me alone, So yeah, but...
So what's the... I'm trying to work out. So there's a lot of money being owed to this particular client, one client. What happened to that?
Paid what I could, and the rest didn't get paid. It was common in Hatton Garden that people would lose money.
Yeah.
And if I lost, what could I do? I'd liquidated what I had. I paid what I could.
Yeah.
But and again, it was due to naivety initially. Like you said, you kind of feel like you're invincible, like you could just keep making that money and chasing it, and then when
did you chase it though? Because obviously there's another option where you were like, hang on, if I borrow or take or move this, and try and add that, and
you kind of get to that point where, for want of a better word, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? And that's,
did you do that?
Well, it was commonplace in it's what people did. They'd take something on 90 days credit, they'd sell it straight away, use that money for 90 days, and then worry about that in 90 days. And it happened a lot. And again, you're chasing your tail constantly, and there's only so much you can keep it up before the ground falls out, And I think that's where it got to, and then what followed was that. Yeah.
So you mentioned we've had a few chats about other stories, and can you tell us some stories in the trade where there's no names but scenarios where you're, oh my god, and you've made that?
I've got a funny one actually.
Yeah, go on.
I was thinking about it earlier. So when we were in the lab, we got a phone call. Huh?
You're in the lab.
Yeah, we're in the diamond lab, and we got a phone call from a guy, and I answered the phone, and he says to me, he said, look, I found you online. He said, we've got a rough diamond that's worth a fortune. He goes, it's worth an absolute fortune.
So just on that, is that quite common for someone to just ring you up and be like,
well, as a diamond lab, it wasn't common that it was rough diamond.
It was rough, like it hasn't been touched.
As in, it's not been polished yet.
Okay.
So it's not very common. Usually you get people ringing up saying, I've got a stone that I want to get graded.
So that's quite out of the ordinary.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm watching Mobland at the moment, and they're doing some stuff with diamonds in Antwerp, right? Yeah. Is that a hub of diamonds? Is it?
Yeah, Antwerp is the diamond.
Yeah,
hub.
I'm in the warehouse right now.
Yeah,
you know the one.
Yeah.
So it's just bringing back stuff. And
with the little black pouch. But I think they were rubies. They weren't.
They were red, weren't they?
Yeah. So
he rings you up.
That's what I actually, when I was watching that, I was thinking, there's no way she can look at that rough diamond and make a decision. Because usually you have to polish, there's ways to do it. You have to polish a window into it.
Okay.
And then you can look into the stuff.
So it's interesting because my wife went, oh, they're not real, are they? Because obviously we don't know what rough whatevers are, right? But they just look like manky little things, don't they?
You could walk past a rough diamond worth £20 million on the street and you'd kick it because you'd think it would just be a piece of dirt. Yeah, they look completely different. And then going back to this story, the guy rings up and he says, I've got... a really expensive diamond. He was from abroad. He said to me, we want to get it graded and potentially sell it. I said, okay, cool. I said, come to the office.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he buzzes the door, and obviously in Hatton Garden you had all the buzzers and you let them in. So I'm watching the camera, and he comes in, and he's got an entourage of about, I've no word of a lie, about 20 people.
20 people.
And we're talking about a room this big.
Okay.
Right, we were literally in a room
this studio's huge. It's not too hot today, actually. It's great, So
okay,
20 people.
He comes in, and I sort of open the door, and I was like, I haven't got room for all your people. Like, you can come in, but you know, they got to stay outside. He was like, yeah, all right, cool. So he came in.
So your first thought, are you thinking this must be worth a lot?
Yeah, because he's got
people,
I mean, these guys were huge. I mean, they were big guys. So it was obvious that he was worried about getting robbed. So he had all this entourage with him. I mean, he was talking about a stone that he thought was worth, you know, $5 million or at the time, or whatever it was. So he comes up, he sits down with us on the table, gets the rough out. It's quite a big piece. I think it was about sort of 50 carat or 100 carat of rough diamond. Usually you lose about 80%. Right.
So you, as a owner of a business, because that's what we are here. Yeah. Are you excited, thinking this could be a nice little deal?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit of. For us, it was different. So we wanted to see what it was about. It was more, you know, you there's going to be a story here, you know, and we're interested to see what it's about. If we graded it, we might have been able to sell it for him eventually, or get it polished for him. So there could have been events where we would have made good money from it. So anyway, he came in, he sat down. When it comes to rough diamond, it's very different than polished diamonds. So I had a guy who was a little Indian man who polished the diamonds. And he'd been polishing diamonds since he was like 5 years old. You know, he used to tell me that when he dies and they put him in a cremation, the amount of diamond dust that's in his body, he's going to be he's going to be worth a fortune. So he comes over, and he had no tact at all about him. So we're sitting there with these guys. I think they were from Africa or South Africa, something like that. And they're saying to me, yeah, this guy owes me money, and he's given me this rough diamond to sell to cover the money that he owes me. So he said, all right, cool. He'd brought all those guys with him from Africa, right? All these guys, they were going to get paid out at the end, right? So, and they were big guys, right? Yeah. Anyway, I call my diamond polisher round. So I'm like, can you come and look at this rough diamond? He comes round, he walks in, sits down, picks it up, looks at it, throws it back down, and goes, no, it's a piece of rubbish. And I was like, the guy's face is dropped.
And you wouldn't have known either?
No, because it was just a big piece of rough diamond. I mean, you know, he just literally looked at it, and without any sort of tact or anything, he just literally threw it on the table and went, it's a piece of, not even rubbish, said the S word,
you can
right?
Swear.
I would say a piece of shit. Right, so he threw it down, he went, it's a piece of shit. And I was like, whoa, like I'm trying to like sort of like crowd control here, like
20 dudes.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, what do you mean it's a piece of shit? He's like, it's nothing. He's like, it's industrial, which means, you know, they use it in drill bits. You know, it's worthless. Like, he said, his words were maybe like $30 a carat. You know, so it was nothing. I mean, they were hoping it would be $1,000 a carat. You know, the guy's face has just dropped. Right, he's got 20 guys in his back room who are waiting to get paid out on that, and flown all the way over, and he's thinking he's sitting on a little gold mine, and he literally had, it was worth nothing.
So did he pick it up and go straight gone?
We were just like, mate, it's time to leave now, see you later. You know, that was it. Like, it was, you know, it was quite brutal back then, because you just had to be sort of like, it's not worth it. You know, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, you think you're sick, and this is what people used to do, and people in the trade used to get tricked as well. They'd go and somebody would come and offer them a bag of rough diamonds, and they'd buy it thinking that it was great, but it turned out it was glass, or it was, and even people in the trade used to get done over like that.
So if someone walks up to you back in the day with a bag, we're right, we need you to sell it. What's your process? You're not just going to go, all right, cool, see you later.
So, I mean, obviously, as somebody who worked with diamonds, I knew what I was looking for. You're very rarely going to see a diamond that is 100% clean, especially under a loupe, even if it's a flawless diamond, right? If you look deep enough with a microscope, you're going to find inclusions. Just on the certificate, it might say flawless, but probably inside you'll find. So if it looks too good to be true, usually it is.
And is that a lesson in life?
Yeah.
Would you say that if it's too good?
I would. Yeah. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. And so we used to have that. We also had diamond testers, but people used to get around that because they used to get like a CZ, which is a cubic worth nothing. You know, you find it in dress jewellery, and they'd sprinkle it with diamond dust so that when you put the diamond tester on it, it would ping back as a diamond.
No
right?
way.
Yeah. So there was all these things, you know, the reflections of a diamond as well. So if you drew a line and you put a diamond over it, the way the light reflects through it compared to a fake stone. Because bear in mind, you've got nowadays, which are a lot more prominent, you've got the treated diamonds, which are massive business now, especially in America. So they get a diamond that's quite heavily marked, and they laser it, they fill it with silicone. But it's fine if you tell people that's what you're selling them, but a lot of the time it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't come across. But you can tell them quite easily. If you look from the back, you'll see like a rainbow colour through the stone.
So your brother's still in the industry?
Yeah, he does a lot more bespoke stuff.
Is he doing all right?
Yeah, he does really well. Like he lives down on the coast now. Yeah, he does good. He does bespoke pieces. So he's got clients who ask to make a piece of jewellery for him. Like me, he's been on his own sort of journey, you know. It's a lot more sort of holistic with his approach to life now. And we were both very sort of money orientated back then, but now we're completely different. Like for me, it's about my journey now, you know, that sort of, if you like, spiritual journey of being the best version of yourself. You know, it's not about money, it's not, and which is why I'm a PT now. You know, I wanted to give back the love that somebody showed in me when there was none around.
So you're I don't know if this is a pun or not, you're rock bottom.
Yeah.
And you've gone to the gym.
Yeah.
And a personal trainer's approached you.
Yeah, so I've joined the gym, like I said, again, like I've done so many times in my life, and I got chatting to a personal trainer there, and he's still, you know, really good friend of mine now. Like, I pretty much see him every day, and you know, he was like, look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to show you what you need to do at the gym, you know. So he showed me stuff like compound lifts, you know, like deadlift, the squats.
Yeah.
You know, it just gave me something to focus on rather than, as many people do, they go to the gym, they've got no idea what to do, and they go on that machine and that machine and that machine, and, you know, and they go for a run for 45 minutes. But it's only so long you're going to maintain that, you know. So it showed me that I could do this, you know. And from then, like, you're talking fast forward 10 years, I went to the gym most. I had my ups and downs, but you know, I went to the gym most days. I learned about food. I learned about nutrition, especially in the last sort of 4 years. I met somebody who sort of inspired me to go to that next level, you know, and I did, and you know, then sort of David Lloyd came calling, and
Did you ever want to go back into it? Because your brother's in the industry. Totally not.
No.
And we were saying about Hatton Garden, obviously everyone knows you, you know everyone.
Yeah.
And you've not been back?
No, I don't work anymore. No, it's Hatton Garden is my previous life. You know, I made a lot of mistakes, don't get me wrong, and you know, I carried them, but I paid my dues, you know. I was on the bottom, you know, like I said to you, you know. And you know, there's that quote that you know, you're only free to do anything once you've lost everything. And I think for me, that was that moment when I was like, right, you know, either I'm going over or I'm coming back down, and I'm sorting myself out. So, you know, my weight loss journey, you know, like getting fit, getting healthy, getting into high rocks, stuff like that, you know.
Have you done a high rocks yet?
Yeah, I've done a high rocks.
How'd you get on?
I'm still doing it.
Are you training now?
Well, no. I'm still doing it. No, it was interesting. Put it that way. Like, I wasn't really prepared for it, but I train it now.
So
all the time.
You've done a high rocks?
Yeah.
So did you do singles?
I did doubles.
You did doubles,
yeah.
And you did it all right. Did you actually finish?
Yeah, we finished it.
So I've done high rocks.
Oh, you did. What time did you?
Well, people don't worry about the time.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm still doing mine.
Don't worry about the time, dude.
Yeah.
When these guys in the gym,
I know.
You're like, oh yeah, but they're training hard.
Yeah.
I wanted the Velcro badge. That's all I wanted, and to complete it.
Yeah, cool.
You know, I thought I was going to die. I wanted to sit. I was drinking Red Bull. I don't even drink Red Bull. Like, what are you doing? And then there was a guy at the gym. Right, I had to go past Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, he's watching.
Oh yeah,
I can't stop.
Jack. He's a machine.
I can't stop. He's young though, isn't he?
I know.
You know,
well, you know what? There's the only limitations are the ones we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
I tell that to everyone. You know, I know people that are in their sort of late 40s that are doing high rocks in super quick times.
Yeah.
You know, like it's possible. You know, you got to be committed to it. And I mean, I train hard. You know, like I'll do high rocks training maybe 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel good. Like I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm 44.
You look good. Yeah.
You know, so for me, it's like, There's no limitations. And if you tell yourself, you know, you can't do it, then guess what? You're not going to do it.
It's funny you should say that, and it's how things turn out. But I took a picture this morning. I love a book. So at school, didn't read anything. Since school, later on in life, I love buying a book. And this little quote, whether you think you can or can't, either way, you're right.
Yeah,
it's the same, isn't it?
Straight up.
I can't do that, can do that. What are you going to choose?
The power of the mind, right?
So what's the future? You're 44. You've sold diamonds, bought diamonds. I'm sure there's a lot more stories in there as well.
A lot more stories.
What are you trying to do? I know you're PTing at David Lloyd, and you're definitely a people's person. Like, 'cause I watch some personal trainers cross different gyms, and they don't talk to people. And I said to you when I first met him, I'm like, you should go and talk to people. Don't have to be about fitness. Say hi in the morning. Give them eye contact.
Exactly.
You know, the amount of people don't even want to do that.
I mean, when David Lloyd, when you join David Lloyd, you know, it's a great company, and it's kind of, especially for their PTs, they send you on training courses and stuff like that. And a lot of it was about sales, essentially. So I understood it all, but there was a lot of PTs there that didn't really get it, you know. And for me, you have to be a people person. But also, I'm not doing this for money. If I was doing it for money, I would have stayed in solar. I would have stayed doing what I was doing, because that's where the money is. You know, PTing is me giving something back,
helping people,
and helping people achieve and say, hey, look, you know, we all watch TikTok and Insta, and you see all these amazing.
I'm too old for TikTok.
You see all these amazing physiques, and you're like, you know, don't worry about that. Like, we can get you where you want to be. You know, it takes hard work. Choose your hard. It's hard to be big and overweight and unhappy and unhealthy. It's hard to train. You know, choose which one you want to do. You
Amazing.
know, and you know, I get on with my clients. I'm on their journey. Like, you know, if I've got clients who I don't find are serious, then I don't want to train them. I don't want to train them, because generally I will give 110%. You know, I will help wherever I can, but I need that little bit back. You know, I need that that you want to change, and I'm going to help you change no matter what. You know. Do
you think you'll be going in your 50s as a PT? What do you think you'll get into?
I mean, look, before David Lloyd, I was looking to open my own place, and then I met with Zoe at David Lloyd, and she was great, and you know, we got on great, and you know, I just thought this is where my sort of journey is taking me, and I'm just, you know, one thing I learned from life was just to stay in the river, you know.
What's that? I've never heard that one.
Well, just follow the river, you know, like. You know, all my life I'd fought against the current, and it had always taken me where I didn't need, you know, where I wasn't supposed to go. And I think once you stay in the river and you just let the river of life take you, you seem to not find these problems anymore, you know. And it all flowed, like David Lloyd just flowed. And you know, since I've been there, and the feedback that I'm getting is great, you know, and it's all just flowing. So where it will take me, I don't know. Like,
it's a little yin and yang. You mentioned the tattoos, the look, and maybe it looked a bit scary, and then you've got the David Lloyd sort of clientele, which is a mixed bag, by the way. It's quite intriguing. Oh, who's this guy? Let me talk. Oh, well, you used to sell diamond. What?
Yeah,
oh my God.
yeah.
So it's a story, but also you can motivate. Are you into? Do you listen to podcasts? You read? Are you into that?
I mean, I somewhat.
What does that
I do read the odd book, more like audio books. But I do listen to a lot of sort of self-help books now.
This is my question, and I feel like you feel a little bit embarrassed that you even say that.
No, not
maybe
really.
30 years ago, you wouldn't have.
Oh, I wouldn't have even.
Nah.
I mean, I came from quite a spiritual home. I mean, my mum reads tarot cards and stuff like that. You know, she was always on that. But I never really got involved with it myself. I was always sort of like, nah. You know,
so with the tarot cards, there's always stuff that sticks out. Do you remember your mum saying stuff like?
Oh yeah,
she's
definitely.
now becoming now. Like, is there something that she's like, look?
Well, it was never more long term.
Okay.
It was always more short term. I mean, to be honest, she used to ask her about girls and stuff like that. You know, like, well, am I going to hear from this girl again and stuff like that? So, you know, it was kind of. I mean, that was back then. But it got to the point where I was like, you know what? She's so good. I don't want to ask any more questions because I don't want to know. Yeah. So I just want to find out where it's all going. You know, like I kind of feel like, you know, the universe has my back, if you like. And you've just got to listen to the signs and follow your gut and go with it. And this was my journey. My journey was never to stay in the diamond business. It's not about money. You know, it's a spiritual journey, like being the best version of yourself. That's what I want to do now, you know. And that's, you know, like I said, the jewellery business, I was naive. I made a lot of mistakes, you know, and I paid for that. You know, it was a hard journey to getting to where I am now. Would I do it again? Probably, yeah. Because I had to learn. I had to learn. I had to learn those lessons, you know, and it's only through adversity that we learn those lessons.
100%.
So, you know, for me, I wouldn't change it. As hard as it was and as brutal as it was, I just, that's how my journey's gone.
So in terms of business, in terms of fitness, have you got some tips you'd like to give to people? You're obviously at David Lloyd now, great club, loads of wicked facilities.
Yeah.
What would you like to leave us with? What you got?
Look, I mean, I think, again, for me, what worked for me, and obviously what works for me doesn't work for everyone, but it's that mind-body connection. You know, people want to do everything when they come to the gym. I'm going to start eating well. I'm going to start training every day. I'm going to start doing this. I'm not going to eat any more rubbish food. I'm not going to do this. That's not how, it's not going to work like that. So my focus on clients is we're going to condition your mind to condition your body.
Mind first.
Okay? Mind first. So, you know what? Just drink an extra glass of water a day and get to the gym. You know, get to the gym. The more you get to the gym, the more you're going to think, what can I do that's going to help me on the other side? You know, no one who goes to a gym for 2-3 years is overweight or whatever, you know. Yeah. So just small baby steps. You know, the January crew, they all come in and they all want to do everything now, and 90% of them have left by the end of January.
Are they friends with the Monday crew?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Monday. We're going to start Monday.
Yeah, start Monday.
Crew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? Just small steps. Just get to the gym. That's what I used to do. You know, when I first started on my journey, all I did was go to the gym every day. And then after a while, I'd think, right, I think because you'd read about it more, the more you got into it. And then it's like, right, what can I do now that's going to help me become more optimal at the gym? Oh, you know what? I'm going to drink more water. Oh, you know what? I'm going to eat better. I learned about nutrition.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can help clients with that whole range of things. And nutrition is important.
Huge.
But it's something that you can work on after, you know.
Amazing.
So, yeah, I would say that. Just slow, easy does it, you know. One of the PTs at work said to me, you know, how long since somebody was last happy with the way they looked, you know, and some people would say, well, 5-6 years ago. Well, do you think that it's going to take a month to get back to? No, it's a journey. And people, you know, if you see it as a journey, we're all going to have ups and downs. You know I'm still crazy for chocolate and stuff like that, you know. I just make sure I don't buy any at my place. I make sure that there's only good stuff, but I will have days where I'll have it, and you know what, that's cool. Like, as long as, you know, the most of the time you're all right, you know, and that's worked for me. And I think that's what scares a lot of people off, is they think that they have to make so many changes. You don't, you know, just, like I said, condition your mind, and that will condition your body.
Amazing. And if I need any diamonds, I can still come to you?
Possibly.
No. Give your brother
I can put you in touch with the people that can sell diamonds.
Yeah, 100%.
I can still look at diamonds, but that's another thing. I don't. A lot of people come to me and they say they find out I'm a diamond dealer, and they go, oh, look at my diamond. And I'm like, because I look at it and I'm like, yeah, that's a piece of shit.
You know too much, don't you?
Well, no, because, you know, a lot of the time people are buying stuff from shops and they're kind of mid clarity, purity. Sometimes they're horrible, and you know, I'm quite an honest person nowadays. Like, I've learned that I just, you know, I say how it is. And I do say to them, like, if you're going to show me that diamond and it's not great, then I'm going to tell you it's not great. You know.
Superb. Look, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Amazing. I think there's more in there, and maybe we can get you back in next year.
There's
or something like that.
Book somewhere along the line.
I think so. Diamond Geezer.
Diamond Geezer, that's it.
And a film.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you, my man.
Cheers, mate.